Happy to get the win, that's for sure. I told the guys that when I got into the locker room that winning is never lost on me, and so you got to find a way to make it happen. Because we had a couple of moments there where we had a chance to either get a couple stops or do a couple things that were within our control, and it kind of maybe would have stretched it out, and I would have had it would have been a little smoother for me coming down the stretch. But we were able to get the win. You know, we watched a lot of college basketball games, and there's a lot of teams that think they're going to win by 20 that end up coming out of there not winning or squeezing one out. So they play really hard. They're aggressive brand of basketball. They were physical, particularly the perimeter guys were really physical, and that posed some challenges for some of our guys that aren't fully developed yet physically, and so. They did a good job. I think from the outset they were being really physical. Even defending, and some of the fouls were hard fouls, and just to set the tone. And I thought they did a really good job. They made a bunch of shots. Luckily, we made some shots too, and we felt like we were able to escape out of there with a win.
You mentioned some controllable things, some struggles with defense. What was your assessment of the defense overall tonight, and what was kind of the frustration for you? It looked like you had some on the sidelines.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, honestly, there were a couple of times where we were in the huddle and we were going to do something specifically. And then when we come out of the huddle, we don't do it, or there were other times where a coverage. I guess where last year's biggest strength of last year's team, not to compare and contrast necessarily, but they were really good earlier in the season at some of those things, and you can't force your group to grow in those. To me personally, some of those are, you could challenge me to improve my jump shot or to improve my passing. That might take more time. Some of these things, I think, with a super high level of concentration are more reproducible, and it's just taken us a little longer to consistently be able to do some of those things. And because of it, we end up giving up more points than what I think we should, based on our physical attributes.
John, back right. Three-point shooting, I think, was probably the story of the game for both teams. Your satisfaction and what y'all are able to do offensively from behind there, and y'all forced some misses more late in the game. Did y'all make some changes, and was it kind of easy for them in the first half from behind the three-point line?
Yeah, we did. We late in the game we changed some stuff. I think maybe there were in the 3-minute range, somewhere around there. We started switching the ball screens just because at that point I think our lead was 10 or 12, and just I felt like threes was certainly the way that they could cut the lead down in that amount of time. So we did do that at that point, but they made some shots that guys don't normally make. Also, I mean, not just the bank that went in, but they made some shots where mathematically. Teams don't perform like that typically, especially running in one direction, full speed, and then catching and turning and shooting it. That's just not a shot typically that goes in. That's just in my experiences over 20-some years. So it's why we play it the way that we do play it. Now, we could do a better job. We could chase harder. We could get there a little bit earlier. And you're talking about the fractions matter at that point. But even still, they made some shots. I mean, I give them credit. for that. And then they got excited, and they're in here playing an SEC team, and then like that's the danger in these games. It gets close down the stretch. You take the jerseys off. It's just 10 guys out there competing. And so they did a really good job of taking advantage of the moment. I think there were some mistakes we made, but I'd say I'd chalk it up more to their performance.
Noticed a lot during the game as well, especially with ball screens near the top of the key. You guys were pretty aggressive on those. Is that kind of the game plan coming in due to their style of play, or is that something that you think you guys do just defensively really well when handling a lot of those ball screens?
Yeah, I thought being aggressive was better for us. We played it soft a couple of times when we couldn't get to the aggressive coverage. Because if the guy that's going to set a ball screen sets a back screen, we need to help on that before we get to our ball screen coverage. Or they a couple of times were setting a down screen for the ball screener, particularly when it was Nick. And so that makes him late to the coverage, which doesn't allow him to be as aggressive. But when we did get there early enough to be aggressive and contain the ball handler, I thought we did a good job. We had a couple times where we didn't rotate from the backside the way that we were supposed to. One time it hurt us, one time it didn't. So we'll see that on film. But I did want to be aggressive. They're such good drivers, the guy, and they shoot the ball well. But it was a way for us to take the guy that was driving off the ball screen, at least to make him a passer. And then their bigs had to make some plays, which, a couple times they did. A couple times they turned it over. I think they got on a short roll one time. They threw it. Jamari stole it as he was recovering. So it was our plan to be more aggressive originally on the wings, a little less aggressive at the top, but they were having good effect or good success in the middle ball screen. So we started being more aggressive on that one too.
Lamont, Jamari, and Zach seem to have much better shooting nights. What did you see from them that allowed them to be a lot more effective out there tonight?
I think it was high-quality shots for the most part, other than two of the shots that Zach missed weren't the greatest shot in my eyes. I'm on the bench, he's in the game, so guys have to feel comfortable out there playing. But other than those two shots for him, I thought his quality of shot was really good. I thought he made some really good decisions in some of these low ball screens. They were going under, and so we moved the ball screen closer to the rim. So then if you're going to go under, that's a deep under. And so on two of those jump shots, Zach appeared unguarded, right? So it was a very comfortable pull-up jump shot for him, and so and he's good. He's good in that range. But Jamari also got some good, clean looks, some really good looks. One of Zach's threes was what a big-time pass by Colin. He's in the post in the second half and just wings it over his shoulder on a 45 to Zach for an open shot, and Zach buried it. So. That was good. It was good to see those guys. We had a variety of guys that made some shots that had been struggling to make threes. So hopefully that gets a couple of these guys going in the right direction.
As you mentioned earlier, Mercer made a lot of threes, but USC seemed to make every shot in response and keep the players seemed pretty poised in the moment. How impressed were you with that, and how do you hope the players keep that sort of calmness in those situations?
Yeah, that's an important trait for in basketball, because there's so many possessions in a basketball game, and the tide turns so quickly. And then you get to the last 3 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever it is, and it seems like everything is hinged on one possession. So I think the ability to be poised and perform, I think they performed well in two ways. One, that they made the shots, but two, that they made the plays. They were able to see sometimes you get in those moments and you get tunnel vision and you can only see what's right in front of you. But I thought they did a really good job of seeing the floor, making plays for one another, and then they stepped up and made the shots too. So that's a trait that is extremely important. Again, not to be making all these comparisons to last year, but I think we had 10 games that were 4 points or less that ended up being 4 points or less or overtime, and we were 8-2, I think, in those games. I think that's the number, but that doesn't happen just because you got lucky 8 times. That was a trait that last year's team had too, so hopefully that's something that these guys have learned and some of the new guys bring as well.
Julia in the back.
Wanted to go back to Zach for a second. Just how much has he developed as a player within this program, and how much of an impact can he have on these closer games?
Yeah, Zach's growth has been phenomenal. I mean, it's been a tremendous amount of growth, but it's been phenomenal for me to watch and to be a part of. He's changed so much from the time that he got here in all the right ways, aside from just physically, but his game has grown. Made a really good play attacking. I think that's the next thing for him. I've been trying to get him to do that more, is attack the basket strong and make strong finishes. The one that he made with the little finger roll in front of our bench, what a high-level play that was. And so it'd be nice for him to do that more often. But he's had very steady growth. It's been pretty fast. He's identified, and we've helped him identify how you can be a real player at this level and beyond. And so he really dived into that and has reaped the benefits. He's in the gym. He works a lot. He loves the game. And he's still on a growth. He's still not all the way there. But obviously he can be I watched Dalton connect the other night. I don't even know what night it was. Was it yesterday or the day before or whenever it was? Okay. Yeah, I get everything on delay. So, and I look at guys like Zach, and I look at Zach and his ability to guard guys like that fairly effectively. Those guys are hard to guard, but it's going to be done most effectively with a guy like Zach Davis. And so that's got to be, I think, where he hangs his hat, and that's how he can be a standout at this level and just in the nation in general as a defender. But he's grown a lot as a player.
Elijah in the front.
Colin had a big night, especially in the second half, but you referenced one of the passes he made. I think it was the one out to Jacoby. It was a cross-court pass, and last year you talked a lot about wanting to create those threes inside out.
Yeah.
From a shot creation standpoint for Colin, how important is it for him to be able to find those passes, and how capable would you say he is to be able to run an entire offense through at his position?
Yeah, it's really important for him to be able to do that, but I found him right as I was coming here to do media, and I told him also he needs to establish. It was a great pass. I mean, it was silly that a guy, he's a sophomore, a sophomore big, can make that pass. And so, but I told him while it was an incredible pass, tremendous pass, that we also need him to sometimes just take that moment over and score it. Unless they play you in a way that they're not letting you do that, which they weren't on that one, I don't think. Because as he establishes himself as the guy that does that in that moment as a scorer, then the moments as a passer happen naturally. He's a willing passer, very willing passer, and very capable passer. So I think we're still trying to develop that he can catch ball and be go-to in some of those moments. But I think that's an important part of him generating offense for us.
Anything else, Coach? Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good Thanksgiving, everyone.